All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. I am sorry about the late start. I really apologize. Sorry, I had somebody call me right at the beginning of the show, and I had to take the call. Then I was having issues with Telegram I'm streaming to Telegram. I don't know if you can see me there or not. I'm not sure. Um, I can't tell. It says that it's streaming to Telegram. I'm not sure. So hopefully you guys can see it. I don't know. We're live on Odyssey, Substack, and on YouTube. We are not live on X anymore. X is over. We are trying to divest from X. My God, extra bullet. I'm sorry. But we're going to try and squeeze what we can into the show. I kind of wanted to just thanks for everybody who's watching on Substack. If you used to watch on X, now we're on Substack. Ain't no stream on X no more. Sorry, I just cannot be a part of the fake free speech. That's true, Bola. Yes, that's actually true. Not that part, this part. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. If you're watching on Odyssey, please, like the channel. You can, or like the video stream. You can also chat there if you feel like chatting on the channel. There you go. There's a chat open. I can see it. If you're on Substack, you can watch on Substack. There's a chat there. Let's see. I don't know where my Substack is. Denver is on Substack. Cool. We're all on Substack today. People on Substack today. And can I see the show? Here we go. All right. So Apophenia, we're going to really talk quickly about what this is, which is kind of interesting article from Edward Snowden. He's talking about kind of conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists and how one can be so paranoid that you start seeing everything as a conspiracy. However, what really sucks is that it's kind of hard not to see everything as a conspiracy. It's hard not to see conspiracies being proven correct in real time. So just when you think you're paranoid, you find out that you're probably not paranoid enough, which really sucks. Where to start? I'm just trying to really be a little bit somewhat focused, and I'm having a hard time. Let's start with the news that, young Republicans' chats were leaked on the internet, and they found them to be highly racist. And I don't, there are problems with the left. There are problems with the right. There are problems with a lot of the narratives on both sides. But, when the left or anybody on the right or anybody in the middle who, calls the Trump administration fascist and racist, well, it's actually true. They are fascist. They are racist. And I don't know how, you can't really get around that part. It is, freaking racist, and it actually gives the left a lot of some "I told you so" cred in that regard. The messed up thing is that they got the left to agree to some kind of like overtly fascist ideas about, banning people from the internet or banning people from speaking their minds. And this tool, this desire to shut the bad people up was quickly, almost immediately turned around on them, and used, and is now being used on the left, which really sucks. This is why that's why free speech and free expression and the ability to say what you want, and no matter how weird or out there or disgusting, it kind of needs to be in place so that people can correctly fight back against it, fight back against a tyrannical government. Anyways, okay, let's not get too far afield. I do want to cover this story real quick. Well, and there's not much to cover in the story except for what I already said, which is that leaked messages. This is from Politico. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. And I'm sorry to say, but like, from most Trump supporters, not all, but a good amount of Trump supporters, especially of the Caucasian persuasion, I can see that they're pretty much racist. It doesn't mean that Democrats aren't. There are plenty of liberals that are racist, plenty of white Democrats that are racist, but I don't know how you cure racism. It's a thing that is kind of alive, and human beings of all color. But when you point to a lot of Trump supporters and you say, "Hey, they're racist," well, most of the time they are. You admit that you don't like orange people, Salt Lakers. By the way, Salt Lakers, good call on the Thursday stock sell-off. I think you called that. And I am very upset right now. Or slightly upset. Actually, fairly upset. Anyways. But good call on that. You were right. You were correct. There's another sell-off today. Not as big as Friday, but it could be. It could end up being pretty big. Trump is supposed to be saying something about something today at noon Pacific, and I don't know what he's saying right now. I really don't know what the word is. I can see that maybe it's negative as far as the economy goes. So I don't know. Anyways, back to this article. The whole world ends in December. Is that true? Via what? Anyways, thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chamber slavery and rape. Granted, people in the privacy of their own homes joke about all kinds of stuff. All kinds of people joke about all kinds of stuff. This is not saying this is okay, but this is what people do. I'm just saying this is what people do. But it actually pretty much correctly paints young Republicans and or Trump supporters as, fairly prone to racism. It's pretty true. Leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyways. They referred to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. Talks about raping. So, tell me who is really into violence, political violence, and eliminating, the other side. All the stuff that they're trying to say about the left right now. And the left doesn't like the right because they're fascists and racist, pretty much, because they really want to do this. It sucks. It's kind of a catch-22 in a way. They talked about raping their enemies, driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believe support slavery. Yep. If you think that there aren't people that, wish to see slavery come back, it's, they're out there. Malcolm Young says it's all on purpose to cause a reaction to enable insurrection fascism. Sure. Insider racism as a subconscious echo of humanity's overall speciesism. Sure. That's a great statement, nobody. I mean, everybody's racist. All people are racist, of all groups. Just white people have a special brand of racism, I guess. Anyways, this story came out. It was a big story, but also like, really? Tell me more. Are you sure? Which, what is the left going to do other than, I don't know, correctly name what it is they're dealing with? How do you legislate this kind of impulse, I guess, out of people? I don't know that you do. The impulse to control others, the impulse to lord over others, because a lot of people have it. It's not it's something that happens when people get into power. It's something that happens on both sides of the aisle, left and right. There's another crazy story coming out about a Republican congressman who supposedly had a swastika flag, or a flag with a swastika in it, hanging in his office. And he's acting like, oh, how did this get in here? Which is funny. A Republican congressman has denounced a vile flag bearing a swastika that was on display in his Capitol office. I am aware of an image that appears to depict a vile and deeply inappropriate symbol near an employee in my office. The content of that image does not reflect the values or standards of this office, my staff, or myself, and I condemn it in the strongest terms. Sure you do. The discovery comes amid heightened scrutiny of far-right imagery and rhetoric linked to some corners of the Republican Party, following a Politico report this week revealing extreme rhetoric in a group chat of young Republicans. An image surfaced on X on Wednesday that appeared to show a small American flag altered to include a red swastika among its stripes, pinned on a board in Taylor's office in Washington, D.C. The image was publicized when an X account called The Rooster, which comments on Ohio politics, shared a screen grab from a virtual meeting that appeared to show one of Taylor's staffers, Angelo Elia, sitting in front of the flag. A friend in D.C. had a Zoom call with the Congressman Dave Taylor's office today. The account wrote, Taylor's legislative correspondent, Angelo Elia, had what can only be described as an American swastika flag prominently displayed in his background. At this time, it is not clear if Elia has any connection to the display. I mean, it's weird. Is it just there? Is this did somebody AI this? Because swastikas have been used to actually, squash movements, to implicate people that, of having. Remember the trucker protest in Canada against vaccine mandates? And then, one of the things that was one of the stories around that movement was that they found a swastika hanging, near one of the protesters or whatever, indicating that they were, secretly Nazis or whatever. And who knows how it got there? Who knows if they truly felt that way? A lot of people thought that somebody, put that there to implicate them or to right, to squash the movement, to implicate them in bad thoughts so that they could, say all these people are Nazis and so therefore we can shut them down, right? Like, yeah, sure, that happens. It happens all the time. So is this that, or is this somebody who is actually, is this a joke? Is this somebody who actually has this in their, I mean, I don't know how you could have it there and not know it's there, especially if you're on a Zoom call. How would you not know it's there? Anybody? I mean, you see in the rhetoric of Stephen Miller and all kinds of people around the Trump administration that, they're saying things that are, I don't know about the racist part, but they're pretty close to mimicking Nazi rhetoric. Like, they're so close. They're riding the line of like literally like repeating the words and the feelings of, former Nazi movements, that you can barely tell them apart. And yet they're still running around going, they're calling us fascists. If you call us fascists, you're a domestic terrorist. Well, no, I don't know. What are we going to do? You're a fascist. What else can one do? Perhaps it's just his wife's swastika. Perhaps. So this is, the discovery of the flag comes after Politico published a bombshell report detailing extensive messages in a Telegram group chat. And we already read that. Does this guy look like he has no idea where this Nazi flag came from? I hate to judge people by how they look, but this is Dave Taylor, the representative. This is the congressman who had the flag hanging in his office. So I don't know. His office told Politico that the congressman believes that the swastika is a result of foul play or vandalism. Maybe. It's interesting. He said he did not see it until now. How could you not? That's what I'm wondering. Is like, how could you, if it was truly there and where it was, I don't know how you could not know it was there. Anyways, has anybody seen the movie One Battle After Another? Anybody? Interesting film, because in it they they use like a agent provocateur, right? There's a protest against kind of it's strangely it parallels what's going on right now. Obviously a Telegram group chat. It strangely parallels what's going on right now, or not so strangely. And there's like military coming in to basically, bust up. They're looking for an ex, guerrilla fighter. I'm not going to give away too much of the story, but they're looking for this ex guerrilla fighter and his daughter, and they go in on the pretense of rounding up people, immigrants, and there's protesters right in this town protesting against the military coming in and rounding up a bunch of people. And in the movie, they say send in what's the band? Was it Van Halen or something? I don't know. Send in some guy who was wearing like a Van Halen shirt. I think it was Van Halen. I might have gotten it wrong. And he comes in with a Molotov cocktail and like throws it at the police in order to justify them cracking heads. Right. And this happens, very, very true, honed very true to reality, right? To what they actually do during protests, which is, infiltrate and try to get the other side to get on the wrong side of like what everybody's doing. Crisis actors are afoot, right? Yep. Victory Gen, best way to kill a legitimate movement. Yep. Anyways, in another part of the movie, and this is the part that I really wanted to like talk about. And it's it's crazy because it's in the movie, so it is like fiction. Just happened in Chicago, yeah. It's in the movie, so it's fiction, but I see it as I don't think it's far from fiction at all. So in the movie, there is a group, and it's kind of like within the military or within veterans of the military, and they're called the Christmas Adventurers, and they are straight up white supremacists, and they are like a I don't know, I don't know how to really describe them, but just as like a secret white supremacist gang that's like within the military, and they're not really a gang. They're actually like, very prominent, respectable, upstanding citizens, probably businessmen or business owners or people high up in the ranks of government operations, right? So there's a whole subplot in there about Sean Penn's character getting into the Christmas Adventurers, and you're supposed to not have anything to do with black people or whatever. And he has a mixed race daughter, from an affair he had. And then, so anyways, that's part of the plot of the movie. But it's the Christmas Adventurers I want to talk about that I think are actually very real, right? So these are very, the people that plot to, control our government through APAC, or the people that plot to control our movements and everything we do through the technocratic panopticon I'm sure are sitting around. These people are not sitting around going like, this is going to be really good for business if we can control it. No, they're sitting around going like, we're going to keep these motherfuckers under lock and key. We need to find a way to, right, basically keep everybody under control, keep everybody under our thumb, make sure nobody comes up, make sure no movements come up, make sure right? So there is a protest. There's actually there's actually supposedly a No Kings protest on Saturday. It's supposed to be fairly big, and it's supposed to be in like every major city. So not just near me, but pretty much near you. There's probably going to be a Saturday protest on this Saturday. So wherever you are, if you want to hit it. I don't know if I'm going to go to I'm going to be in the middle of driving from one city to another, so I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. Saturday protests do nothing. There you go, Bella. The whole point of everything that I'm saying today, and I'm just kind of like, I'm bringing you stories, but I'm just kind of having a discussion today. Nearest one is in Atlanta. Okay. The discussion I'm having, I'm going to read part of this Edward Snowden article, and he's kind of talking about paranoia in a society reaching a point where people don't trust anything that they see or hear, and that's a bad thing, but not necessarily if you should not trust anything you see or hear. This also coincides with a recent podcast I was listening to around privacy, and one of the interviewee in the podcast was talking about how often people see ads or see things on their phones that are targeted to things that they weren't even speaking about, things that they were thinking about, right? And I have that happen to me all the time, where I know absolutely that I am not speaking out loud about something, but I have an ad come up for it on my phone, or I something. Anyways, this interviewee was talking about something that he saw on his phone that actually really just was too personal and pointed to what was happening to his life. He saw a meme and he was like, "That this meme is completely targeted at me," and he like got freaked out around it. Right? I am going to get back to Snowden, I promise. I guess the main upshot of what I'm saying is, it's a good time to be really paranoid about what's going on. Like if you think you're too paranoid, you're probably not paranoid enough. I don't like to live in paranoia because it's very stressful. And I don't want to cause other people to live in paranoia because it is stressful. And it makes people sad, and it makes, I don't think it makes for people having healthy relationships or healthy relationships with the world around them. I don't think it's a great thing. However, I think a really good level of healthy skepticism is appropriate, especially at this time. Kate says, I'm out in the streets regularly with my stop logging activities and talking to everyone about my lawsuit. People should join me. People should start right in their own neighborhood. Heck yeah, Kate. Heck yeah. I'm with you on that. People should be out there, however it is you're doing whatever you're doing, right? Speaking out about what they're seeing, talking about what's going on. Yeah, and a really big topic of conversation lately is AI infiltration by the Christmas adventurers. I'm kidding, but not really. AI infiltration and the panopticon that is being the web that is being installed all around us, and that is already installed. And I have to say, like, I spend, in the same vein of talking about webs, a lot of people that I used to listen to, I don't listen to anymore as far as podcasters. Not that they don't have good information. I'm just kind of like moving on to other things. And two of the main people I listen to are 7Cs, who does webs, about how everybody is financially linked. There's almost nothing on the internet that isn't financially linked to some kind of evil entity, right? Or people who are deeply involved in the panopticon. And and it sucks and it's scary. But when I listen to Seven Seas, and he basically says the same thing, he says a lot of things that I think, which is that, like, I don't trust anybody. I trust no one. And it's hard to trust anything online that you see or hear. Take everything with a grain of salt and a healthy dose of I don't know about that, right? Speaking of which, it's I was talking to Indy a little bit on Twitter about who owns I had posted something about Rumble buying Colin to bury it, but he was talking about Twitter, and he was saying, I have the article, which is all the list of investors in the people who backed Elon Musk buying Twitter, and it's like everyone, on top of the fact Jack Dorsey, the former CEO / CIA agent, or whatever it is he is. I think he's a CIA agent. He has like some kind of venture fund or whatever trust that helped Elon Musk buy Twitter, which is kind of wild. And then he goes and starts Blue Sky. Well, Blue Sky started before Twitter was sold. I don't know why you would go to Blue Sky. Blue Sky is this, you're going from one CIA-backed panopticon touch point to another one. Like, what is the freaking point of that? Oh, all my friends are over on the CIA panopticon touch point with me over here. Great. Okie dokie. I'm never going to Threads. I'm never going to Blue Sky. What is the point of that? I don't know. Going anywhere else is almost, going to Substack. I found that Substack was funded by Mark Andreessen. Mark Andreessen is part of the evil panopticon crew, right? He's in there with Elon Musk, Alex Karp, and Peter Thiel, and he's in there. He's one of those guys, and he funds Substack. So going over to Substack, I don't know. There's no AI, for what I can tell, Grok thing happening over on Substack, but who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it's totally hidden. Substack seems slightly less heinous than Twitter, but knowing that Mark Andreessen funds it, it's pretty much the same thing as anything else. I don't know. I don't know where else to go. I don't know where else to go. They're all owned by these guys. They're all owned and operated by these people, which is a freaking paranoid place to be, unfortunately. And it really sucks. Okay, so lastly, in this hour, I'm going to read a little bit of this Edward Snowden article, which is interesting. Not the whole thing. It's probably too long to read. Maybe not. Maybe I can read the whole thing. By the way, guys, if you like the show, if you support the show, there's lots of ways to support the show. You know how they are. They're all in the description box of whatever you're watching on. I don't know if anybody's watching on Telegram. I don't know if you can see me on Telegram. I'm going to have to work the Telegram thing out. I'm not sure. If you're in there, I don't know if you can see me. Poppy Davis says, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Yeah, the thing is that, well, two things. there's a lot to be said for, speaking your mind and just not going along with the program, right? So if enough people don't comply, it gets hard for them to push people in. It may be that eventually not complying means turning your phone off, maybe turning your computer off. Might mean everybody, there's a woman on Twitter who's like, everybody cancel your data plans right now for your phone. That would be the best way to get them to stop doing what they're doing, because you're just buying into their whole program by, having a smartphone and owning these data programs and being like a part of the grid. They are giving free cell phones to the uncontacted tribes in the Amazon. Yeah. Right. So, she is screaming into the void on some level, because, there's a lot of people who are like, no, you're crazy, lady. That's no, come on. There's also people that are, Sabrina Wallace, or down the road of Sabrina Wallace advocates, which means that like they're already manipulating you without your cell phone. Like they already have the technology to manipulate you just in the air around you, which is, kind of a wild thought. But hey, if you're busy being skeptical, might want to include that one too. I don't know. I think it is a lot harder for them to manipulate us if we aren't going along with the program. So whatever way that looks like to you, do that. Whatever way in which you can not go along with the program, I encourage you to do that. Whether it be whatever it is, whether it's protesting, whether it's flyering, whether it's doing a podcast, whether it's putting up memes, whether it's talking to your neighbors, whether it's not mowing your lawn, whether it's not driving a car, whether it's planting vegetables, whatever it is that you think that you can do to not go along with the program, I encourage you to do that. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Oh, I'm going to read this. Also, guys, tomorrow is Friday. I should be here tomorrow. There is an outside chance that I might not be here. I don't think so, though. I think that I will probably be here tomorrow. But I'm just saying, if I don't show up, everything is okay. I just have a lot going on tomorrow. Like a lot. Like a lot happening tomorrow. So there is an outside chance that I do not make it to the show tomorrow. So preparing you for that. But 90% chance I'm going to be here. I'll let you guys know. And you're gonna see me anyway. So there you go. Brax phones, right, Fred. There's a lot of privacy phone. Privacy phones are a new thing. I'm actually really. I had a privacy phone at one time, and it was a couple of years ago. I think it was before I think the technology has gotten better for the privacy phones. I think 4 or 5 years ago, which is when I had a privacy phone, it wasn't quite, and the phone that I had wasn't quite up to speed, so it was very difficult to use and not very. It just wasn't very usable. But they've gotten a lot better. That being said, I'm thinking very hard about re-entering the privacy phone game as soon as I can. Because I don't like what's happening. The iPhones are getting weirder and weirder and more. They just are collecting data more and more. They're shoving AI. They're shoving AI down your throat. They're just doing things that are kind of funny. And I think they're gearing up to install, more of the surveillance and social credit score tech, So I think soon is a good time to get off of Androids and iPhones and get onto a privacy phone so that you can be less monitored. I don't know. Anyways, that is just what's on my mind. I'm going to read this. This is Apophenia by Edward Snowden. How the internet transforms the individual into a conspiracy of one. The easier it becomes to produce information, the harder that information becomes to consume. And the harder we have to work to separate the spurious from the significant. Do you guys feel that way yourselves? Humans are meaning-making machines seeking order in the chaos. Our pattern recognition capabilities are a key determinant in defining intelligence. But we now live in a dystopian digital landscape, purpose-built to undermine these capabilities, training us to mistake planned patterns for convenient and even meaningful coincidences. You know the drill. Email a colleague about the shit weather and start getting banner ads for cheap flights to Corsica. Google ordination license or city hall hours and watch your inbox fill with rebates for rings and cribs. For those of us who grew up during the rise of surveillance capitalism, our online experience has been defined by the effort of separating coincidence from cause and effect. Today, we understand, if not accept, that hyperconsumption of information online comes at the cost of being hyperconsumed, bled by tech companies for that data our readings secrete. You click, and the big five scrape a sample of your preferences to exploit. The real cost to this recursive construction of reality from the ephemera of our preferences is that it tailors a separate world for each individual. And when you do live at the center of a private world, reverse engineered from your own search history, you begin to notice patterns that others can't. Believe me when I say, I know what it feels like to be told that you're the only one who sees the connection, a pattern of injustice, say, and that you're downright crazy for noticing anything at all. To manufacture meaning from mere coincidence is the essence of paranoia, the gateway to world building, your own private conspiracies, or else to an epiphany that allows you to see the world as it actually is. I want to talk about that epiphany, about taking back control of our atomized pre-conspiracy world. The German psychologist Klaus Conrad called this premonitory state apophenia, defined as perceiving patterns that don't actually exist and referring them back to an unseen authority who must be pulling the strings. It's a theory he developed as an Army medical officer specializing in head traumas under the Third Reich. Today, it's analogized to political conspiracy thinking. Consider case number 10. A German soldier at a filling station refuses to service a patrol that doesn't have the proper paperwork. Chalk his behavior up to that infamous Nazi officiousness. But when the patrol returns papers in hand, the soldier still refuses to obey orders. His pattern recognition has gone into overdrive, and he's begun to see every detail: a locked door, these patrolmen, paper signed or unsigned, as a test. His paranoid disobedience lands him in the psych ward, where Conrad writes him up as one of 107 cases that revolutionizes the Germanosphere's understanding of human psychology. Conrad became famous for recognizing this oppressive emergence of patterns as a pre-psychotic state that he compared to stage fright. It culminates in a false epiphany. An apopheny is not a flash of insight into the true nature of reality, but an aha experience, literally aha Erlebnis, that constitutes the birth of delusion. The entire universe has turned back and reorganized itself to revolve around the individual performing and corroborating his suspicions. Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, but in this case, it's staged specifically for you, the audience, who's also the star. For someone obsessed with the pathology of conspiracy, Conrad was pretty susceptible to conspiratorial thinking himself. Born in Germany and raised in Vienna, his loyalties to the Nazi Party preceded his military duty. He joined in 1940 when his earlier research in hereditary epilepsy looked like promising fodder for the Nazis' monstrous sterilization laws. Maybe it was careerist opportunism, maybe it was ideological, or maybe it takes one delusion-obsessed man to recognize another. Hitler was one of the greatest conspiracy theorists of all time. Only Conrad's scientific findings aren't themselves delusional. In fact, he ended up being one of the only Nazi scientists to be producing science without rockets, torture, or pentagrams. The traumatized soldiers he treated on the battlefield turned out to be good data, and the hundreds of cases he worked on allowed him to work out the laws of Gestalt, i.e. pattern psychology, a school of thought that argues the human mind grasps in an instant not just individual elements of an information set, but entire configurations or patterns. For example, when we see alternating bars of light, they appear to be moving, even though they're not. Our brains are just recalling patterns related to the perception of motion and applying them to a stationary object or objects. In an apophenic state, everything's a pattern, and while Conrad's stage model uses the analogy of starring in your own one-man show, the narcissism of living online today provides plenty more. On Instagram, you can filter your face, filter out unwanted followers, construct an image that you and your peers want to believe in. You're living in a private illusion in public that the world reifies with likes. For-profit data collection has literally reorganized the world to revolve around you as you wish it, or they will it. Oh, I want to stop right there and just say, man, I'm not going to read anymore. That was pretty deep. That was deep enough. Because he mentions the narcissistic state of so many online, right? Because people only want to be surrounded by things that they like, or opinions they like, or people they like, or think, right? Everybody's curated, which is a very popular word, curated their online activities or existence, to suit them, which is great. But, when real life sets in, either through the internet or in your own life, it can be very hard to handle, right? People start Karening out. Oh my God. The problem is that sometimes things look like they actually are. And that is that ability to discern what is real and what is not real is getting harder and harder for people. And in their ability to blur the lines between what is real and what is not real is also getting better. That's why it's so hard to get people, motivated or organized into a proper movement against the powerful, is that nobody knows which way is up. It's very difficult for people to discern, like, what, where should I be? Here's the thing. The No Kings protest on Saturday. Okay, great. Sure. That's awesome. But isn't that funded by the Walmart heiress? Isn't No Kings like funded by some gigantic billionaires? And you can't trust that. You can't, yes, the statement No Kings, or the emotion No Kings, or the inspiration to get behind that movement is awesome. They're literally funded by a billionaire heiress who you cannot trust. And if there is billionaires funding this movement, and they're also talking about wearing the color yellow, which turns it into what? A color revolution, which is, many of those are orchestrated or constructed by very wealthy people and intelligence services to play out for their own ends, right? To play out in a way that suits them and not you. So yeah, great. Go out and protest if that's what you want to do, get behind it. If you feel like that motion helps you, or if that you feel like that motion is helping, great. But also do it with a skeptical heart. Do it with plenty of skepticism in your mind about the frickin' No Kings movement being funded by billionaires. Like, what is that? What's that about? Right. And that has also been a thing that people have talked about over the last decade or so or more, going all the way back to the Maidan revolution in Ukraine, which was a US funded revolution that overthrew a democratically elected president and installed Zelensky. These are, very large movements, made by people with connections, money, and power to use your energy or your feelings of, righteousness against your own interests. So, it makes it very difficult to know, what it is that one should be doing to truly thwart or hold back the powers that be, if that's even possible at all. And even the feeling of it not being possible at all, I feel like even that feeling, that motion, that emotion, that statement is a freaking psyop. They're trying to get you demoralized. They're trying to get you to stop doing what you're doing. They're trying to get you to be confused about what it is you should be behind or where to go. If No Kings is funded by a billionaire, I'd say use that energy and movement anyways, right? Use it to the righteous end and, screw that billionaire, when it comes time. Screw that billionaire. And don't bring your phone, Bella. Yes, exactly. If you're going to go, don't bring your phone. All that being said, I'm not trying to leave anybody or everybody in a paranoid, fear-driven state. I'm just trying to say, you got to use your discernment. You got to stay motivated. You got to stay, connected to what's real, the real world. Take a break from the internet. Take a break this weekend. Take a break tonight. Take a break today. Shut it all off for a while. Go walk outside. Go look at the sky. Go look at the horizon. Go, bask in the sun. Whatever it is you need to do. Talk to your friends. Have real human contact. Do some meditating. Do whatever it is that makes you feel more connected. And we will reconvene tomorrow at the regular time. We'll talk more about this. But anyways, I appreciate you all being here. Thanks for indulging me in just having a rambling conversation about this and that. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for your input. I appreciate you guys. Y'all are straight up awesome. Okay. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's pretty jamming movie. I would say go go see it. Pretty well done. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Reflect the Sun is over on Odyssey. Plant a garden and listen to some great music from Kevin Sandbloom's Bang the Bots. Good tune. Oh, you like it? Nice. Thanks, Reflect the Sun. Appreciate you. Yeah, I have a new song out, Bang the Bots. It's go to my Instagram. There's a link there, and you can go listen to the song there on my Instagram. All right. And got some more music coming out really soon too. Everybody on the Substack chat, thank you. Plenty of chatters on Substack today. Thank you. Kate says we should have learned from Uncle Ted that we could no longer hide, so be proud of your ideals. Okay. Uncle Ted was off the grid and no cell phone. That's true. Kate says she'll be at the entrance of Stanley Park on Friday. Go visit Kate if you're at Stanley Park or in the area. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. And always, hey, always beware the bear.